All right. We're diving into Henry James's Daisy Miller today.
Ooh.
I've got a ton to talk about with this one. So many sources,
It's true.
character analyses,
Yeah.
historical context, symbolism, themes. You really went all in.
I had to. I'm so excited we're finally tackling this one.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
And the big question, why is Daisy Miller still sparking debates after all this time?
I know, right? Over a century later.
This young American woman in 19th century Europe, what's the big deal? That's what we're going to unpack, just for you, of course.
It's such a great question. Because the novella really does continue to resonate with people, even now, all these years later.
For sure. Okay, so Daisy Miller, called an international novel. So we're talking about American and European cultures and how they clash.
Mhm.
And this is the Victorian era. Like, huge emphasis on social rules.
Oh, absolutely. Huge.
So imagine this. Daisy Miller, young, independent, wealthy American woman, traveling through Europe.
Sounds fun.
Right.
Except.
She breaks all the rules.
Right.
Practically. And that's where things get really interesting, right?
Oh, totally. Because is she oblivious? Or just rebelling? That's what's so fascinating about her.
That's the question. And then we have Frederick Winterbourne, American expat living in Geneva,
Right.
totally smitten with Daisy, but also kind of stuffy. Like, really concerned with those social rules.
Well, he is living in that world, isn't he?
Yeah. And he's how we see everything in the story.
I see.
Which makes you wonder, are we getting the full picture of Daisy? Or just his interpretation of her?
Definitely something to keep in mind, right? Like, how reliable is our narrator? How much is his judgment clouding things?
Exactly. Okay, so we have this intriguing young woman, this kind of uptight American expat. But to really get it, we got to understand the world they're living in.
Yeah, context is key with this one.
Totally. So Victorian era, break it down for us. What were these social rules and why were they such a big deal?
Okay. Imagine a world where a woman's reputation is everything. Like, literally everything. One wrong move and her entire future is ruined. That's the Victorian era in a nutshell. Separate spheres for men and women, super strict expectations.
And women are expected to be, perfectly behaved.
Basically, it was all about virtue and propriety.
Wow. I could see how that would clash with someone like Daisy, who's used to more freedom, right?
For sure. And don't forget, it's the late 19th century. Big changes are happening. You've got the rising middle class, new technologies, travel's easier.
You're right.
And women are starting to push back against those norms.
So it's like this time of upheaval, but also anxiety about that upheaval. And Daisy's about to shake things up even more.
Exactly. And let's not forget, Daisy and her family are part of this new wave of wealthy Americans going to Europe. They have money, but do they have the right social graces? That's a big part of it, too.
Totally. And Daisy, with her disregard for chaperones, talking to any man she pleases, she's like a bull in a china shop, right?
Bull. And those pearl-clutching matrons in the American expat community, like Mrs. Costello and Mrs. Walker, they are not having it.
Oh, no way. They are the rule enforcers.
For sure. They represent that old social order. They're threatened by Daisy's independence.
Right. And Daisy, she's not about to be controlled. Remember how she talks about wanting intimate friends? Pretty bold statement for a young woman back then.
Very bold. And all of this is playing out against these incredible backdrops, too. Switzerland, Rome. But these aren't just settings, are they? They add a whole other layer.
Oh, absolutely. With Henry James, the setting is practically another character.
Right. Like, take the Chateau de Chillon, super romantic castle, but also confining. Kind of like Winterbourne's own internal struggle.
Oh, I see it. He's drawn to Daisy's freedom, but stuck in his own head.
Exactly. He's looking at freedom, but not sure if he can handle it.
And then Rome, specifically the Colosseum.
Oh, the Colosseum.
It's almost a character itself, right?
Yeah.
Looming over everything. Like a bad omen.
Totally. Foreshadowing, maybe.
Right. James uses these places to build attention,
For sure. He was a master of that.
Okay. So we've got these characters, this clash of cultures, all this tension building. And then James takes it even further.
How so?
Motifs. These recurring images and ideas that pop up throughout the story.
Oh, right. Like breadcrumbs.
Yes. And one that really jumps out is illness.
Illness.
But it's not just physical sickness, right? It's like he's saying something deeper about these social rules. So tell me, what do you make of the illness motif in Daisy Miller?
Okay, well, look who gets sick. Mrs. Costello, with her constant headaches. Those who are most tied to these rigid rules seem drained somehow. Like it's literally making them ill.
Wow, that's a really interesting point. So conforming has its own kind of cost, maybe.
Right. And then you've got Daisy, Randolph, those who reject the rules.
They seem to have more energy, more life in them.
Until
the tragedy, of course.
And that's where it gets even more complicated, right? Because it's Daisy, the picture of vitality, who gets Roman fever.
And that, after that night at the Colosseum, it all feels so deliberate, so symbolic.
It really does.
And speaking of things that follow Daisy around the gossip, it's everywhere she goes.
It's relentless.
And it's mainly coming from the American community, right?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, are they really concerned for her or just trying to protect themselves?
Maybe a bit of both. It speaks to that pressure cooker atmosphere, right? You don't want to be the next one ostracized.
Totally.
Okay.
And then there's that scene with Mrs. Walker offering Daisy a ride in her carriage.
Oh, yes. That's a big one.
Seems like a kind gesture.
Right, right.
But it's so loaded. That carriage, it's status, acceptance into their world.
It totally is. And by refusing, Daisy's rejecting more than a ride. She's rejecting their whole way of life.
It's an act of defiance, but also a dangerous game to play. The stakes just keep getting higher.
For sure.
We've covered so much, but I already feel like this story is more than just a romance or whatever. It's about freedom, societal pressure, authenticity, things that are still so relevant.
Oh, absolutely. James was ahead of his time in a lot of ways.
Totally agree. And we've only just scratched the surface. It really makes you think, does it? About the choices we make and what we're willing to risk.
Especially in a society that's not exactly known for being forgiving, right?
Exactly. And Daisy, she's really putting herself out there.
Mm-hmm.
But is she aware of just how high the stakes are?
Mm.
Or is there a kind of naivete to her rebellion?
That's the question that keeps coming up, isn't it? James is so good at keeping us guessing. On one hand, you could see her as a victim, like she's punished for just being herself.
Especially when it comes to men.
Exactly. Her relationship with Giovanelli, that's a turning point. He's not suitable in the eyes of society, so she's immediately condemned.
It's like those in power, they use these social rules as weapons, you know?
Right, to control anyone who steps out of line.
And it's sad because you can tell Daisy just wants to live her life, experience new things.
And she pays the price for it, which, again, makes you question James's intentions, right?
And her death from Roman fever, it all feels very symbolic.
Oh, for sure. It's not just a physical ailment, is it?
Right. It's like this manifestation of all the pressure she's facing.
The weight of those expectations, crushing her.
And the fact that it happens after that night at the Colosseum. Talk about symbolism.
Right. A place known for violence, sacrifice. It's like James is layering those associations onto Daisy's fate.
In those settings, Switzerland, Rome, they're like characters themselves, you know? Reflecting what's happening internally with Daisy and Winterbourne.
Totally. The landscape mirrors their emotional journeys. And the Colosseum, it's always there, looming in the background.
It's like a warning.
Right. And even after Daisy's death, the gossip doesn't stop.
Oh, no. That's the thing about reputation. It follows you even after you're gone.
Especially in that society. So we have Giovanelli at her funeral declaring her innocence.
The most innocent, his words. But even that feels open to interpretation.
Does he mean it? Or is he trying to save himself?
It's like even in death, she can't escape their judgment.
It's tragic, really. And then there's Winterbourne.
Oh, Winterbourne. Torn between his feelings and his fear of what people will think.
The ultimate social climber.
Right. He wants to be part of that world, even if it means sacrificing his own happiness.
So what do we make of his reaction to her death?
He seems almost indifferent. Like it doesn't really change him.
Yeah, he admits to his aunt he misjudged Daisy, but then he just goes back to his old life.
And he's even interested in another woman.
It's like he's learned nothing.
It's both sad and frustrating, you know. He had a chance to break free, but he chooses to stay stuck.
He chooses the cage, even though he can see the bars.
And that's the tragedy of Winterbourne, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's a prisoner of his own making. And it makes you wonder, are we all capable of that, of choosing conformity over authenticity?
It's a question we all have to ask ourselves, right? And that's the genius of James. He forces us to confront these uncomfortable truths.
Totally. He's not giving us easy answers. He's making us think, making us question.
And that's what makes Daisy Miller such an enduring work, even after all these years.
It's like we're left with this sense of what if, you know? What if Daisy had played by the rules? What if Winterbourne had been braver?
It's the what ifs that really get you with the story, right? Because it could have gone so many different ways.
Totally. And the ending. It just makes you think, Winterbourne's back in Geneva, and he says he's lived too long in foreign parts. What does that even mean?
It's such a loaded statement, isn't it? And it's so typical of James to leave us hanging like that.
Right. He doesn't spell it out for us. So how are we supposed to interpret that final line? What's your take as our resident James expert?
Okay, so some people read it as regret. Like he's realizing he's lost something by conforming to that European society.
Yeah.
That maybe he's lost a part of himself.
The part that could connect with someone like Daisy, maybe?
Yeah. But then there's another way to see it. A darker way.
Uh-oh, I don't like the sound of that.
Remember that other foreign lady Winterbourne's interested in? Some might say him going back to Geneva, pursuing this new woman. It's like he hasn't learned a thing.
Oh, no. So he's just going to repeat the same patterns.
It's possible he's still seeking validation from that same world that destroyed Daisy. He'd rather play it safe than risk everything for something real.
It's like he's choosing to be trapped.
And that's the tragedy of Winterbourne, right? He has a chance for real happiness, but he throws it away. He'd rather be comfortable than authentic.
So what's the takeaway for us? Are we doomed to be like Winterbourne? Stuck in our own little cages?
I don't think so. I think James is warning us, not condemning us. He's saying, hey, pay attention. Don't let society dictate your life. Don't be afraid to be yourself, even if it means taking risks.
It's a call to action, then.
Yeah. Don't settle for a life that's less than what you want. Fight for your right to be happy, to be free.
I love that. And it's so amazing how a book written over a century ago can still feel so relevant today, you know?
Right. Like, we're still dealing with these same questions about social pressure, authenticity, finding your own path.
It's like James tapped into something timeless about the human experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why Daisy Miller continues to fascinate and challenge readers, even now. It makes you think, it makes you feel, and it stays with you long after you finish the last page.
So well said. And that's a wrap on another deep dive.
That was a good one.
It really was. Big thanks to you, our amazing expert. Your insights are always so on point.
Thanks. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
And to you, our incredible listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Daisy Miller. And remember, keep those conversations going. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep discovering those amazing books out there that make you think and feel.
Hear, hear.
Until next time, happy reading.